Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Evolve and Elevate with Erica. I am your host, Errica Bishop, and I am, as always, it is indeed a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. As we're starting the show this evening, this is going to be our year in review. So, this will be our last show for the year of 2024. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has been here with me, the 1212 community, all of our guests that have been a part of the show this year, and everyone that has joined and subscribed over this past year. Evolve and Elevate with Erica has now finished its second season, and I'm just full of joy for all that we have experienced in this past year. And as you are joining us tonight, I ask that you please like, subscribe, and share, and let someone know that we are here. As always, here on Evolve and Elevate with Erica, we talk about all things that are within personal development, abundance, growing, and also living our best life, leveraging emotional intelligence, and just all of our life experiences that we can share with everyone. This past year, as I was going through um, all of the different shows that we have done this past year, and just a couple of the different titles that we have discussed, and you could go back and watch them at your leisure. But we talked about going from burnout to bliss, how to go from a place of when you've been burned out to a place of peace and to regain and reclaim yourself after you've given and poured out so much. Finding God's purpose in every moment, overcoming fear and embracing new opportunities. How to get past negative self talk and get to a place of positive self talk, and how to find peace in a busy world. As we see, our world is forever changing and it's changing so quickly. So, how do we find peace and find our own pace in a world that seems so busy and it seems like so many different things are just going past us so swiftly? But we stand in the confidence in what it is that we're supposed to be doing. And how do we move forward in that? Life lessons from life's detours. Life will start life in at any moment. How do we grow in that space? How do we continue to pick up the lessons and understand that there are no losses, that we gain those lessons and that wisdom and we apply it in our lives? When jealousy comes from within the family circle, now that was a great topic, because sometimes, unfortunately, we do have some things that we have to fix and work through even within our own family unit. And one called God, You Want to Bless Me Now. And I know that sometimes we get through certain places in life and we've prayed for certain things and we want God to bless us at our time. But there are certain times where God said, No, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to bless you, but I get ready. And sometimes it might even feel inconvenient to us, but He is blessing us. And He's doing it at that time. One, because we're mature enough to handle it. And two, it's His timing. And He wants us to have it in that moment so we can truly enjoy the fullness of it. Acting on God's guidance. And this was a topic that we talked about when God asks us to do something against the norm. It's not in the direction that everyone think that we would go in or people would have given us advice to go in. But it's some places that God will tell us to do, maneuver in certain ways that most people are like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But we have to be obedient to what God has said. Living a spirit filled life. And then we had a great opportunity for about 3 weeks. And thank you, Spencer Combs, that was with us to talk from a business standpoint, how to make unshakable profits. And he broke down his framework and how to have unshakable faith. And then we also had a wonderful young lady we affectionately call her TT. She's a global manicurist out of the upstate. And hers was called Healing Hands. And she shared her journey as a manicurist. And it's not just about doing nails, it's about how God uses her to bless people in their place of where they're walking through their journey of self care, and how God uses her as and has gifted her with understanding healing of the body, the soul, and the spirit through being a manicurist. And then surrendering through obedience. And then I had a wonderful opportunity with Miss Gwenda from Australia as we talked about holistic healing, Miss Leslie, as we talked about blooming after 50, and she shared a wonderful story about how to forgive after betrayal. And always the one who has co-hosted with me the majority of the time, Miss Alicia Johnson, who has been a very intricate part of Evolve and Elevate with Erica. So I just want to take the time to thank all of you for being here with me for this past year, for the past 2 years. And as we kind of go into the year of review and kind of get into some of the different topics, well, more so just some things that I want you to walk away with for this year as we get ready to cross over into 2025. And we're moving on to a better place, a new journey, and in some cases, finishing some things that we've started. So, one of the things that I want to leave with you as we are ending this year and getting into this year of moving into 2025 is the power of forgiveness and healing. And we did a lot of discussions about forgiveness because we understand in order for us to move forward and not to be stuck in certain places of our lives, forgiveness is very important. So when we think about forgiving and flourishing in that place and being free, we also think about why forgiveness is not a weakness. You're not relinquishing your power when you forgive. Often we think that forgiveness means condoning what happened or letting someone off the hook, and that's not the case. Forgiveness is for us. It's about reclaiming our power. And as we forgive, we truly act in a place of courage. We step forward and freeing ourselves from resentment, freeing ourselves from offense, and we no longer hold ourselves in that place in the past, right? We move forward from that. And how do we forgive? We talk about how it's a journey, and it starts with first acknowledging the pain and understanding the impact, and then we're making the decision to release it. And we move forward. We can journal, we can exercise, we can have affirmations, and we begin our journey on forgiveness. And it also talks about how those grudges don't help us at all, but forgiveness is a gift that we also not only give to ourselves, but we also give to others as well. So, one of those things, again, that I wanted to leave is the power of forgiveness. As we get ready to go into 2025, forgive whoever needs to be forgiven and don't take it with you. Don't take that grudge. Don't take that heartache. Don't take that pain. Release it and leave it where it is. Walk away with the lesson that you learned, and it may have been through betrayal, and it may have been through some other things that we had to learn a hard lesson. But as you go forward into 2025, if you want to leave anything, leave the unforgiveness in 2024 before you move over to 2025. Number two, overcome feelings of failure. So we can thank you. Hello, Miss Frida. Good to see you. As we go into 2025 and we're crossing over to a new year, and some of us may have already been in our new year because the new year doesn't necessarily change as the clock changes. Your seasons change as God wills for your seasons to change. But we have probably made some mistakes and probably had some failures along the way. And what we want to walk away with is redefining what a failure means and understanding that a failure is not the end, it's information. A failure is not the end, it's information. We have learned something about ourselves, we have gained a new perspective, we understand what works, what doesn't work. We have probably gained a new lesson or a new way of doing something, but it's an opportunity to pivot. It's an opportunity to make a different decision. And it's an opportunity to Arm yourself with some additional wisdom when it comes to moving forward and using it as a stepping stone. We become more resilient. I've had some failures this past year. But one thing I know is that I walked away with a new set of muscles to push through on the other side of what looked like a failure. But remember, there are no losses, there are only lessons. There are no losses, there are only lessons. And each time you face a challenge, you have a chance to strengthen your ability to bounce back in a place of resilience. And it doesn't mean that you failed, it just means you're going to push through. You're going to become stronger and you're going to move over to the other side. And it builds your confidence. One thing about it I've learned that when we cross over and we push through something very hard, there's a greater degree of confidence that we can look back and be like, you know what? That was hard, but I made it. That was difficult, and I might have a few scratches from it, but I'm still here. I often sometimes think about when you watch a movie and you see this big blast, like this huge fire, and the person who you thought was going to die comes walking out with a long trench coat, walking through the fire, and they walk straight out of it. That's what overcoming failure is like to me. Yeah, it might have blown up in my face. It might have been some dangerous things along the way, some stuff I didn't quite understand. But if I walked out of it, I'm better because I went through it. I may show some scars or some things of what happened, but I still made it through to the other side. So we build from those places of what looks like failure. We surround ourselves with people that help lift us and support us. And you know that through those difficult times, you understand those who are really with you. And you celebrate those people for being with you through those hard times. You celebrate those people who didn't cast you away when things were difficult. And you reframe how you speak to yourself because you know what? You're resilient. You made it. At the end of the day, it may look like a failure to many, but you made it and you survived. Number three, embracing change for personal growth. As we talk about evolving and elevating, we have to know that we have to embrace every ounce of change, and it can come in a lot of different ways. It can come through stretches of time, it can be a different momentum in time, it can come through different waves, and sometimes it may seem like it comes back to back to back to back to back, and you feel like you're often having to pivot, change, and move. But all of that to me is conditioning for what's next. It's conditioning for what it is that you've asked for. One, so you can sustain the very thing that you have been praying about. You can sustain the very thing that you are believing for. You can sustain the very thing that you want to move into. Because through life as it is, changes are going to come. And we have to be able to embrace the growth that comes with that. And sometimes change can feel like we're in a dark room, that there's nothing that is making sense. But we understand that sometimes there are going to be unknowns. But if you walk with the last thing you were told to do, and you're obedient in that place, even when it seems scary, when it may seem overwhelming, when you feel like a little anxiety might be showing up, we will find ourselves embracing another version of ourselves. We'll find ourselves embracing a new thought process. And we'll find ourselves also in a place of discovery. Maybe discovering is something we may need to work on. Maybe something discovering that, you know what, I may need to go back and pick up this thing that I had laid down that wasn't for then, but it's for now. Because sometimes change uncovers different things that we may need and not need within the season that we're in, right? So as we're embracing that change, we may have to go back to some stuff that we may have laid down and say, you know what, I'm going to put it over here for right now because it's not serving me right now, but I didn't throw it away. And I want you to pin that. We didn't throw it away. So we understand how to visualize the outcome that we want. And when we make a decision to really know what we want, when things come at us that are not what we want, we don't vacillate in between. And that was one thing that I had to learn even for myself. And it was tested in it even this year to understand this is what you said that you want. And when things look almost to be what I thought I wanted, but it wasn't the fullness of it, it wasn't so hard to walk away from it, right? Because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was a counterfeit to what I wanted. So I had to take another step. We're still talking about change. I had to pivot a little bit more to put in some extra effort to get to what it is that I had visualized. And when we grow in our careers, when we grow in our relationships, when we grow in our business, when our network expands, we find ourselves embracing the momentum of the change. Because, see, sometimes change comes at a slow pace, as I said earlier, and sometimes change comes really, really fast. So fast that it really literally make your head spin. But how do you stand in a place of contentment, clarity, and focus so that you don't get swept up and miss what it is that you needed to do in that place of personal growth and change? And when you do have those moments of downtime, after you've gone through your change curve, there's always a time of reflection. Whatever change curve you've had to go through, whatever pivot you had to make, there's always an opportunity to reflect and to extract all the lessons and the wisdom and what it is that you have produced or noticed or discovered about yourself within that process of change. Change sometimes like this bell curve. We start with the unknown, we gain some knowledge, we're at the pinnacle of the change and maximizing the effort of what it is that we have to produce. And sometimes it's some pressure that comes with that change. I call it privilege pressure. There's pressure that comes with that change. And then it gets a little bit easier, but right at the bottom of that bell curve, it's that time where we have an opportunity to really reflect, where we've embraced the change and what exactly are we taking from it. Number 4, as we have gone through 2024, moving into 2025, in that place of self-discovery, we peel back the personal layers of our lives and we find out exactly who we are, what we are, and why we are that, right? Because when you begin to pull back those personal layers, we begin to ask our question: who am I? Why am I this way? And what is the purpose of why I'm doing this or not doing that? And those are questions that we should ask ourselves because it is a defining moment for us and it makes us very clear of who we are. Which, when we are very clear of who we are, we're very clear how we show up in certain situations. And as we begin to pull back those personal layers and become more aware of who we are, we begin to know, see, and understand exactly how and why we show up the way we do, which means we can be more authentic in how we live, more authentic in what it is, and more transparent and what we say and how we interact and how we love and how we care for others and how we nurture our relationships. And we become more powerful in who we are as a being because I am true to myself, because I began to truly understand me. And even if we still have to deal with some of those quirky things about ourselves that we haven't quite worked out yet, we know how to keep those things top of mind so we don't stumble, fumble, trip, and fall over ourselves because we're very aware that this is something I got to work on. Very transparent. As you become more aware of who we are, pulling back those layers, you're quick to share, yes, I'm not good at this. So when I do it, call me on it. That's something I'm working on. And feedback don't hurt as much. As a matter of fact, you get to a place where you start asking for more feedback. How can I be better as a friend? How can I be better as a spouse? How can I be better as a life partner? How can I be better as an employee or a leader? We begin to ask those questions, not to be in the defense, but to gain the information that's needed so that we can become better in who we are and how we show up every day, which makes us better leaders, better businessmen and women, better servants, better partners for those that love us and those that we love. And then there's that freedom of truly being authentic. When I finally got to a place when I was truly free to be me, I had to sit with myself for a minute and I had to really say, girl, how long? Like you could have done that a whole lot sooner. Because the freedom of being authentic, the freedom of truly being who you are, you no longer have to code switch. And it's amazing that when you're not authentic, how much we code switch, even with the people who are like us, because we feel as though we have to fit in. But when you pull back those personal layers and you value the uniqueness of who you are, and you truly walk in the unapologetic authenticity, not to hurt anyone, not to make anyone feel less than, but truly walk in the freedom of who you are and love people the way you want to be loved and nurture those relationships. And we've heard the phrase, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. And truly walk in that freedom, you have those true, genuine connections that are long lasting, even though you may not talk to people every day, but you have those true, solid, long lasting connections because you have peeled back those personal layers and you're truly in a place of self awareness and you walk in that freedom of embracing who you are. So before I go to number 5, number 1, the power of forgiveness and healing. We're leaving unforgiveness in 2024 and walking in a place of forgiveness in 2025. Number 2, overcoming feelings of failure. Understanding failure is not the end, it's information. Yes, we may have tried some things that didn't work, but take all the information out of it. That's that reflection time. Just dissect the whole situation. Why parts of it worked that didn't work at all. Gain all the information that's necessary and reframe the narrative. I didn't fail. I'm wiser. I gain more information. I have more leverage now that when I do this thing again, I know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Number 3, embracing your change for personal growth. We have a change curve that we go through. And there's a pinnacle part in that change curve when there's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of energy that's exerted through that change. But when we get down through the change, It's a time of reflection to really dissect and know who we are, why we are, and what made it work. Peeling back the personal layers of that place of self discovery for authentic living, truly living in that place of authenticity. Now, when we find our voice, and as you have found your voice this year, and I know for me, making sure that I use my voice in the right way was very important for me this year. And I'm going to continue to carry that because that's part of me being authentic. And it was times when I'd be like, oh, never mind. No, that's okay. No, I need to use my voice. And it's about expressing my thoughts, asking questions for clarity and understanding so that there could be harmony and camaraderie and not one dismissing myself. See, when you don't use your voice, you dismiss yourself. And we have to honor who we are. We have to honor our thoughts. We have to honor our emotions. We have to honor our feelings. And there are times you have to sit with it for a little bit to make sure that you're thinking through it the right way, to make sure you're processing it the right way, that anxiety is not trying to cloud your judgment or your feelings or your thoughts. But when you empower yourself to truly use your voice, you know your worth. You know the impact that you have with your voice. You understand the power of your voice, communicating the boundaries, communicating when boundaries have been um, stepped over, communicating your needs, evaluating the connection with others, and being able to voice what you can and cannot deliver. That's the power of using your voice. So that there isn't a time where you're finding yourself being dismissed or passive aggressive. No, you're being truthful with not only who you are, but what it is that you have to share and being honest about it and not just going along to get along. And it doesn't have to be in an aggressive manner, it doesn't have to be in a sarcastic tone. No, I'm being true to who I am because I love me enough to give you, and why I have something in my eye right now, I don't know. I love you enough to give you the truthful part of myself so then I don't have to come back later and say, I wasn't honest with you. No, I'm giving it to you up front. And I'm communicating that. And I'm stepping into truly who I am with confidence and whatever it is that I've been given to do as an assignment. And I have to bring all of me with whatever it is that I'm doing. We don't leave parts of ourselves behind. We bring every part of ourselves to the table. We bring every part of ourselves into the room. We bring every part of ourselves in that safe space and in that space that people may be holding for us, we may be holding for them, or we may be holding for ourselves. We bring every part of ourselves to that space. And we use our voice with confidence. We use our voice with love and authenticity. And we use our voice with empowerment because when we truly allow ourselves to be free, we don't understand how powerful it is when other people are free because we're free. We help other people remove the shackles that they may find themselves having strongholds in places that they didn't realize that they had them. And that's the power of using your voice in life, in love, and in business. How do I use my voice in the right way, impactful way? That when I leave my voice print in the atmosphere, wisdom is a part of that voice. Love is a part of that voice. Understanding is a part of that voice. And it's that positive impact that is left. That's why you have wonderful people like Maya Angelou or Nikki Giovanni, who has passed on this past year, and all the greats who had something to say, but they understood the power of their voice. And people for generations quote the things that they say because they understood the impact of their voice in life, in love, and in relationships. We take ownership of who we are with our voice. We take ownership of what we want to be with our voice. And we balance it through loving ourselves because we didn't dismiss ourselves out of a conversation because we thought that we didn't need to be heard. No, we need to hear what you have to say. So it's finding your voice. Number 5, finding your voice is so important for 2025 and using your voice in the space. So we talked about change. And in that change, there are always these life-changing moments, these pinnacles, these landmarks in life. And one of the things is as we embrace change and as we grow and we evolve and we elevate and we expand and we emerge, it's the power of gratitude. And one of the things that I'm going to start this year, and excuse me as I sip my tea, is I'm going to start a gratitude jar. And every day in that jar is going to be something that I am grateful for that I'm going to write down. And at the end of the year, I'm going to read all those things. And even if in the middle of the year that something happens and it may seem crazy, I will pull out of that jar to remind me if it's something so crazy that it just takes me out of my space to remind myself of what I'm grateful for. But I'm going to start a gratitude jar this year. And every day I'm going to write it and put it in that jar of all the things that I am grateful for. Because that power of gratitude keeps us focused. The power of gratitude keeps us grounded. The power of gratitude allows abundance to continue to flow through our lives. So, one of the things within realizing change and having those life-changing moments is the gratitude, the power of gratitude. Number 2, within number 6, is letting go of perfectionism. Wow, 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 wow. So, yeah, perfectionism has been something that is a constant work for me personally. In those moments when we feel like we have to be perfect. In those moments where actually perfectionism paralyzes you and it keeps you stuck. But understanding that all things aren't always going to be perfect, but you work with what you have. You continue to move forward with where you are. as you continue to grow and you continue to advance, it may not be perfect now, but it will be perfectly perfect for you when the time is right. And we do better with our better. As we continue to get better in making things perfect, we continue to do better with the better that we have. We don't just leave it, we continue to expand on it and we continue to grow with it. And I believe that there are some things, the crazy things that happen to make stuff you're doing. That's great, Alfreda. Thank you so much. Thank you for that comment. Thank you for that. As we get better with our better and we continue to move forward with that place of gratitude, and we can release that place of perfectionism, right? And continue to move forward with what it is that we are looking to gain. And we can move in that place of progress. And we don't hinge everything on this one thing was not what I wanted it to be, so I have to abandon everything else. No. We work through that part and continue with all the other things that are right. Because I'm coming to understand that perfectionism deters your focus, because we get fixated on this one thing that may not be exact. Now, I'm not saying we don't operate in excellence. That's not what I'm saying. We still give it our best and we still operate in a place of excellence, but we don't get stuck on that one thing that may not be perfect, because it's probably that it wasn't even supposed to be. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Because sometimes in our mind, we can think that, oh, this has to be this certain way. And God is saying, you don't even really need all that. This is exactly the way it's supposed to be. This right here, as simple as it is, that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. And when we let go of that perfectionism, we really allow a flow to happen, that in that flow and the love of God, He makes up the difference. In us operating in obedience and excellence, what may not seem perfect to us, He fills the gaps. And what we were fixated on that was out of tune and out of pocket, other people will love it. And you're like, you have got to be kidding me. And it's like, no, that's what they needed. Especially when you're serving others. That's what they needed. It had nothing to do with what we wanted. It's about what they needed. And then, of course, our own daily habits. And I'm pretty sure we've got journals, we've got vision boards, all of that. I love it and do it. I have a new prayer wall, all of those things. It's about being intentional with every part of our day. It's about being intentional. And if you're not a part of the 12-12 community, when we teach 12 hours for God, 12 hours for man, and understanding our purpose and our timing, and understanding that the world has their own timing and God has His own timing, and how do we operate as a kingdom citizen in the world and being on God's timing that supersedes man's timing? How do we make sure that our habits are lined up and that they are firm and equipped, and it allows us to reach the goals that we're supposed to have and the assignments that we're supposed to carry out each and every day? So, just to kind of reflect on those 6 things, I got one last thing I want to share. So, the first one was the power of forgiveness, changing the narrative over on failure, overcoming the feelings of failure, and changing the narrative to know it's not a failure, it's information. embracing our change and our own personal growth. Understand that there are going to be unknowns, change. We have a change curve that we have to go through, muscle through, work through, and then a time of reflection during that process of change. The place of discovery, as we pull back the personal layers, as we go through our processes of change and growth and development. How do we learn more about ourselves in that place of self discovery and truly being authentic to who we are, walking in the freedom of our authenticity, and also harnessing the power of our voice, harnessing the power of who we are in love, life, business, relationships, and the value that we had with using our voice, and understanding that in life's changes and change curves, that there is gratitude, letting go of perfectionism, and being intentional about our day. Now, this one last thing I want to share with you. I call this don't abandon your carryover. Don't abandon your carryover. When we think about moving into another year, it can be sometimes disappointing when you feel like you haven't finished everything you wanted to finish in 2024 or any year. And we kind of, maybe it wasn't meant to be. No, carry it over. Now, we already talked unforgiveness. We want to leave all the negative stuff behind. We pull the lessons from it, but don't abandon your carryover. There are some things that are supposed to go with you because it's needed at the next level because it hadn't reached its full potential. So don't abandon your carryover. Just because a goal wasn't met doesn't mean it don't have any value. Oh, it has value because we assess how far we've come to getting to the goal. And what else do we need to do? What is it that we can rinse and repeat that was working, that gave us the momentum to get from here to here? What is it that we can rinse and repeat in between here and here that's going to get us to the goal that we can use? And we reflect in every part of the change curve and every part of the transition. We reflect and we pull out the lessons so that we can achieve what's next. And we don't look at it as it was incomplete, it's progress. As long as you're intentional about finishing it, it is progress. So don't abandon the carryover. No, I may not have completed all of my classes in 2024, but I need to carry it over to 2025 so I can complete it. We put that at the top of the list of the things that need to be completed. What was not completed here, you move it from the bottom. As you started your list and you went from the top to the bottom, what's at the bottom, you bring it now to the top and you make sure that that's a priority to get done. Then I'm intentional about I've got to set aside time to get this complete in this moment because I'm carrying it over to make sure that it's done because it's needed. We started it for a reason. So we complete it and carry it over to the next thing. We turn all of our lessons into the leverage that it's supposed to be. We use the leverage of the lessons to understand how can I produce differently? How do these lessons challenge me? What other skill set do I need to learn or equip myself with so that I can have a shorter turnaround time for what's needed or a different strategy or a different perspective to move forward? Don't abandon the carryover. And then we commit to consistency over perfection. There goes that perfection thing. We don't get stuck in that place of one thing that didn't work out. We're consistent with everything else. And eventually, your consistency and your time will overlap. If we're consistent over a period of time, we will find that the very thing that we're working toward, it will overlap. And we will find ourselves being more impactful by being consistent and finishing than trying to blast something out so fast that we miss the impact, the full momentum of it, and pulling out all of the lessons that we need to go with it. So don't abandon the carryover. There are some things you pack up and you bring them. There's some baggage you bring with you. You bring your carry on with you for this next leg of the journey because it's needed. There's some tools in there that you use in 2024 that you've got to use it in 2025. And we bring those things with us. So I just want to leave those things with you all as this year in review. And I pray that this will be helpful to you, that we can revisit it at a later time. And if you get an opportunity to go back and watch some of the older shows that we have done this past year, which many of them are very powerful, and I will be replaying them over the next couple of weeks because I really believe and understand that as we are more intentional with who we know that we already are and who we are becoming, and as we continue to walk through this process of evolution, we will find ourselves rising higher to that version of ourselves that we've always speak to and dream of and see and have the necessary impact that's necessary for what's going to be needed this next season. And I was having a conversation with someone about you got to know your own pace and you have to know what works for you. And we've talked about here on this platform before, understanding what your level of success looks like. And as we use our voice and we become more impactful, it's no more dimming our light to make others comfortable, because our light needs to shine, because there's somebody else that's out there that may be in a place where they might not have enough light and they need to gravitate to ours. They need to gravitate to your light and they can't see it. They far out in the distance and they can't see it. So stop dimming your light. Take yourself off mute. Dust off those things that we laid aside that we think we don't need anymore and bring them with us. Because those are some promises we made to ourselves that we need to finish. It's time for us to get them complete. And if it means that you have to be your own personal project for the next 90 days, do it. Be your own personal project for the next 90 days. And I promise you, when you're done with being intentional about yourself, and being your own personal project, oh baby, you talking about having to reintroduce yourself. Okay. It's going to be amazing. And I'm right there with you, cheering you on. So I just wanted to stop by as we finish this year end review. This will be the last episode for this season of 2024. And we'll kick back off in 2025. Uh, Early spring is typically I do around about March, maybe earlier. Because we got some things we're working on and we're getting them complete. We got some personal projects that we're getting done. I can't share with you, and if I'm not doing it myself, we're doing these personal projects and getting them complete. So I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of Evolve and Elevate with Errica. And do me a huge favor. Please send me a note or a DM or leave a comment of how this platform has blessed you and some other things that you would like to see. Because I'm here for you all. We're here to grow together, to evolve and elevate and be our best selves and live in a true life of abundance and authenticity. I love you all so much. Have the most amazing New Year's Eve going into 2025. I pray many blessings, peace, love, joy, abundance, understanding, clarity, whatever it is that God has for you, that you get it all and then some. You all take care. Until next time, I love you so much. Good night.